enemy to crush. The death nature is in your body. You have faith. I brought you what to now exercise faith in. That's what I brought you. I said you can live and not die. Even though you have a mortal body and nature, I'm telling you, revelations that are the true revelations, pure revelations, revolving around the God and his Son. They have what, when you meditate in them and it crystallizes, that's what it hatches. That is the reason for the word of God is life-giving. The race is all about your body metamorphosis. To Father Adam, to die is gain. To Mother Eve, to die is gain, not to you. Is gain in the aspect of what? When they become mortal in their body, then procreation can become possible. For you to die is unnecessary. It's needless. This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the deliverer. This is the time to die no more. Do not die in the deliverer.
Most Holy Spirit, the God of the Spirit of the Prophet, the God of divine revelations, the revealer of secrets, the giver of gifts, the supreme Lord of hosts, the Lord God of the heavens' armies, the corporeal and the incorporeal forces, the great cherubim and seraphim, the archangels and other angels, the ministering spirits, the citizens of the mansions also, the Godfather, the true Godfather, of our heroic Father, of our Titan, our champion, our living legend, the very pride of the mankind race, the Godfather of the principal ancestor of the mankind race, His Eminence King Adam, the God whose body has no reproach at all, the God whose handiworks or handcrafted works are unmatched masterpiece, the one and only true God Almighty, the God whose gene is a royal gene and the most royal, the God of pure hominids only, the God of gods, the supreme God King of the King of kings, the God of kings and priests, the God King of nobles, of royalties, princes and princesses, the God of the saints, the living God of the living, the source of life, the giver of life, the fountain of life, the life that is everlasting, the lifespan that never runs dry, the God that is self-dependent, self-sufficient, all-sufficient, without beginning or end, knowing the end of a matter from the beginning, the all-knowing, the almighty God who alone deserves true worship, the God whom no one can kill, the God whom no one can feed, whom no planet can starve, whom no celestial or terrestrial kinds of planets, her grounds, water or air nourishes nor produces what he eats, whom no one, no person, no individual can have to himself, whom no one can own or have or withhold what he eats, whom no planet can host wholesomely or keep hostage, the God that is far, far beyond the rest, the God with whom all things are possible, the God that has no rival, the God that does not forsake any, especially those who trust or trusted in him patiently, the God whose help leaves no vacuum, the God whom nothing takes unawares, the God whose revelations are eye-opening and not idling, the God whose words are powerful, intoxicating, detoxifying, and dependable, the God among whose spoken words are found Eucharist, edible Eucharist, holy Eucharist, celestial life-giving food indeed, and not the achicha or that terrestrial kind of bread baked with or without yeast, which can tear or break when bent, which house flies can perch on, and can even breed insects or ants, the God whose words are supposed to be likened to ambrosia nectar, and not food for thoughts, but food for the spirit being, pure hominid spirit being precisely, the God who used or who uses celestial gold, so precious as that is, for flooring celestial planets outdoor, the God whose word moves mountains, whose reign of active revelations changes weather, conditions climate, weathers a storm, the God whose holy messages uninstall the perverse in any planet, chasing away or chases away darkness in matrix storms at the echo, resetting the ecosystem of any terrestrial world gradually, for the celestial to take over, the God whose word vanishes anarchy and chaos, frustrates the token of liars, making and proving their divinations baseless, that is without concrete foundation, lies and riotous, that is anarchical, cataclysmic, or chaotic, to cosmic methodology, formatting trends, thereby initiating changes positively. The God whose doctrines does not include casting of lot. The God who does not gamble, nor do things by trial and error. The God whose word is living and active, whose word has microscoping properties, spiritual and life-giving properties. Spiritual meaning possessing spiritually genetic contents or properties. And life-giving simply meaning Zoe hatching, life imputing, life importing, life changing, life renewing, life immortalizing, life preserving, life polishing, powerful and surgically sharper or more piercing than any two-edged sword or surgical blade or blades or needles in life-saving operations. The God who speaks things into existence torrentially, calling them definitely and setting their order, and not in any way practicing optimism, faith, or being merely optimistic in his confessions. The God that has no birthday, the God whose source of life and power is himself, his spirit being, and not his word. But his word, his spoken word, has life or power because it's born of his spirit. The God whose surveillance is all-encompassing, whose kingdom is all-sovereign, and never or can never suffer. The God that has his unmatched operation avatar, the master strategist, the extraordinary strategist, and the transition programmer. I fear thee. The wiper out of the multi-generational reproach of the once termed or tagged bastardized. The resurrector of the father of the people that were once called fatherless. The bailer and resurrector of the principal ancestors of the mankind race. The defender of the widowed church, the ages the church ran without the husband of that church age. Most loving father, most caring father, most model father, the God of the harvest, who sends laborers into his vineyard when the harvest is ripe, the supreme master builder of the church that conquered death. I worship thee, our super lover, our highest carer. Thy love does not die at all. Nothing dies or can die in thee, the supremely immortal God. Those wolves and monsters that said that thy love for mankind, thy agape for us, that thy agape agap from us by the sin or transgression of Father Adam, those anarchists are damned. Those wolves that called us poor banished children of Eve, those children of anarchy are damned forever. Truly, thy save is total. Thy save is total, O God of our salvation. Thy save is ultimate and homecoming. The lifter up of my head, meaning the resurrector of my principal ancestor, the promoter of my status, the grandest architect and master strategist, the avatar of my impending dangers. Those that thought that man is a vertebrate, a mammal, multicellular organism, and so on, defining man by the features and characteristics of the mortal body, categorizing man among animals that are in this earth, are being judged today. Through these expository messages, Mark chapter 7, verse 8 and 9 is better understood today. Thanks, most Holy Spirit, for teaching me. The God that do the impossible. I'm increasingly and ravishingly in awe and humble admiration of thee, my God. I love and cherish thee deeply with the whole of me, with the entirety of my being. May we hear from thee once again in the simple or simplest language that we can understand. You will continue to reign forever, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. In the matchless name of our Supreme Lord Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. The learning that will educate the church, the born-again sect especially, to come to the full knowledge and understanding of Bible phrases or words like the wedding garment, the garment of praise, and so on, is ongoing. Hello, you are welcome to Rabbi Class. This is not in any way a Jewish-oriented arrangement or initiative, as I've always told you. and as it may have sounded anytime I say this, but a midweek church service with an interactive session that can graduate to a debate kind of symposium that will accommodate even rival religious sects. That simply means that as we grow, as this gets to the global domain, as God also reveals even what will happen before it happens. So the prophet is talking based also on what was revealed, that this will even accommodate anyone that has serious issues with these things that he has been bringing out, or someone who truly wants to know, wants to understand what the truth is, just is interested in what the truth is, the truth about the God of creation, the truth about the sacraments, the truth about the doctrines, the doctrines of Christianity, the truth about the Genesis chapters, for instance, the account of creation, then some of the things that didn't really agree in the Bible, where two things are clashing in the Bible, something like that. All of this that means your questions will be allowed. You can throw your questions even while the prophet is live, and if he gets to him, he will answer the question. You see, and this was meant to provide answers to your unanswered questions and proving the authenticity of the Holy Scriptures to other religions of this world. This is the computer age, like they've always said. There are things that might not be easily found before in the Bible that can easily be found at this time. Why? Because the Bible has gone electronic, and there are search engines that your device, your phone, your iPad, or any device that has that computer system and the apps that can help you to get one thing or the other. So my point is this, that there are renditions in the Bible that are not in her accurate interpretation, that we are not, in fact, that we are misinterpreted. Some were actually false, like what was written was not even true, was not written well, like trying to explain or trying to interpret something that is spiritual, with the brain of the body that we have here. That really, really affected a whole lot. And the prophet is not just touching these things, and he tries to explain it with the kind of English, that is, he tries to explain in such a way that if you really listen, you can see that it's not like he's telling you just trust him blindly, just believe him without asking questions, that kind of fool worship. That is not that. And he will explain it to the extent that if you are truly someone who really wants to know what the truth is for your good, you want to find out the truth about a whole lot when it comes to realities, what is true, what is real, as far as this earth is concerned, and also the yonder. Prophet released a message many years ago. He called it, or he titled it, The Mystery Hidden in Ages. Then under it, he wrote, The Journey of the Dead. Just look at that. The mystery hidden in ages. Then under that caption, he wrote, The Journey of the Dead. Now the issue is this. Is that truly something that is worth bringing out? You see, now the journey of the dead. Do you care to know what that journey of the dead is? which religion has really explained it? The journey of the dead. Even till date, they still say that when someone dies, he has gone to either to the God or to where those that didn't please the God or that were rebels or that offended the God to the extent of, like their deeds are not forgivable, something like that. So they either go to the God or go to the other side, where the God also made available for those who are not loyal to him. You see, now the prophet is saying that it is not so actually. And he spoke about ghost world, explain what it means to be a ghost, and also the difference between a ghost and someone who is yet to be given birth to biologically here. But the person's spirit being has already been given birth to. And that kind of birth is called super bio. And that one has to do with only those belonging to the mankind race who are pure hominids. Prophet spoke about Abraham's bosom and explained it. And that is a ghost world. Prophet spoke about hell, Hell, hell. And that hell is a ghost world. He also said that actually that naked flame, that is fire, actually that's not like hell, fire, fire. That if I thought it should be there, it is not that fire that naked flame here. And beside, a ghost, 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 actually cannot be tortured with naked flame that here. The naked flame that here is terrestrial. It is terrestrial. Every ghost are no longer terrestrial. The spirit being in the soul, or the spirit being on his own, is a celestial being. That is the reason that ghost, for instance, or that spirit being in the soul that was ejected from the body. That is that the body ejected or gave up. The reason that very ghost cannot be able to match, that is stand on the ground, the solid ground, in the earth here, cannot be able to touch walls, cannot be. That is, if he should try passing through a wall, even if he thinks the wall will not allow him, he only realizes that the wall did not even recognize him. Now, why it was so? The prophet explained that. You see, so there is such as ghost world, and that hell is a ghost world, and that Abraham's bosom is also a ghost world. But that these are two different places. That people who die, like they say, in this very planet. This excludes angels. That is, angel turned human. Okay, and then prophet also spoke about the lake of fire. That the lake of fire was also mentioned in the Revelation chapters, towards the ending of the Revelation chapters, and that place is different, and that one now is not a ghost world. That is where anyone going to that particular place will go with his spirit being, with his spirit, soul, and body intact. Spirit, soul, and body intact. So the prophet has really, really been dealing with matters, subjects that are fundamental. It is when you have not really patiently listened to him or followed him, that is, listen to him not just once and stop, on weekly basis. And then you will discover that there's a whole lot that he brings out that will really, really help you. That will help you not to be at the mercy or not to be vulnerable to certain philosophers, certain Bible scholars, certain teachers, certain pastors. I'm calling these names like pastors, not exactly because the people are actually pastors, but I'm saying, in the name of this, that, and then having different things to make out of what is written in the Bible. The truth is actually one body of work. There is the logos of the God of creation. There is the blueprint, the master plan of the will. That is the the entire plan of the very person who conceptualized these things in his creative faculty and bring them into tangible reality as he willed or as he wills. You see, the reason for prayers like, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, that's a reason. Thy kingdom come, that's a reason. You see, and so on. Now, the prophet has been making us know how that Genesis chapters, beginning from verse 1, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, is actually not correct. They wrote that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. That it's supposed to be the heavens and the earth. The heavens and the earth. You see, and then what will help you to know that this is true is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. You see there, it was clear that there are heavens worlds, heavens, that is plural, and also the people inhabiting the very heavens world, that is the very heavens, and then also the earth. I mentioned another that they wrote as the sea, and those that are in the sea. And the prophet said that that people in the sea was not actually referring to, that the writer was not referring to fishes. And he also explained that. Then when it comes to the earth, it's not that it's only one earth, actually, like one earth, that and the earth meant. Because he continued talking about that earth. And the earth was without form and void. You see, and so on. And then the spirit of the God hovered over the waters, and then before the speech. So the prophet said that there is the exegesis, a more detailed account of that whole stuff that waited, because who was supposedly the author of that account is in the similitudes. He is in the similitudes. There's such a similitude. That's so he's in the similitudes of the body, the kind of body that is needed to be actively a resident here. That is to live in this kind of a planet. And that was why he was called Moses. And Moses meant drawn from the water. It was this kind of a planet that it was water that God, the God of creation, spoke to. This way, he said, let the dry ground appear, and then water produced this very earth. Therefore, water is the matrix of the earth. So this earth is a water-born planet. So there are the celestial kind, and then there is the terrestrial kind. So this very kind of a planet is different, is inferior in comparison to another kind that has also her laws, and the laws are supernatural, and they have also people who are citizens of the very planets. And mankind is a race of his own, different from angels. Angels are also a race of his own, or their own, different from the cherubim and seraphim. The word cherubim is plural. Cherub is one. Seraphim is plural. Seraph is one. They all have their heavens words. Cherubim and seraphim belong to one race. A seraph is a feminine version of a cherub, while angels are neither male nor female, and their organs are gender neutral. They are gender neutral organs. Prophet has touched these things, you see, and has really explained things to the point where actually, if the people were really looking for the truth, looking at the platforms, the media already in the earth, the internet platforms, the social media platforms already in the earth, the way the messages, these things that he has been talking about, would have spreaded, would have been like, what those kind of things that at times when they happen, before you know it, they will say it has gone viral. It is because the people are actually so, so that they are pursuing what they feel, almost everybody feel, that is what is highly needed, highly required. That's supposed to be priority because it has to do with basic needs. That's what, if you get that, then you can buy what you need. I'm not now talking about wants, but at least needs, which has to do like your food to eat, that's clothes to put on, your house, that is where to stay, the basic amenities you need in this kind of a planet. If you have your wife, you have your children, or people that you are taking care of or you're catering for, you just know that you must get this money to be able to buy these things. So because of that, people they are yet to really know that even in their pursuit, just in their effort to do what they feel is what the God must have meant, like in a nutshell, just to do good thing, to do good, to practice moral standards, something like that. Go to church or go to the mosque, but the main thing is you make sure you are far from evil. You don't do those things that are wicked. You practice righteousness, moral standards. You pray to God, you tell him your needs, or you tell him the things you need from him, something like that. And that's just the main thing. Okay? So they never really know that has not been their priority. That has not been their priority. Like Jesus experienced when he said, "Seek ye first the kingdom. Seek ye first the kingdom, and every other thing," the way they wrote that, "and every other thing shall be added unto you." Seek ye first the kingdom, and every other thing shall be added unto you. And it was not an advice. It was not an advice. It was a serious. It was much more than just an advice. Like what someone thinks that it is that's that's how to help you. When something is suggestive, like a suggestion, someone's suggestion to you, that is a free moral agent. It is not that. There's a serious reason. There's a serious reason for that. He didn't just say seek ye for. There is a reason. That is to say, if you understand the reason, then you understand why he said you should do that first. That means not just seek ye the kingdom. Seek ye first. That first means there's still the second. And there's still the third. Just like there is the kingdom, there is the power and the glory. Just like there is seek, there is, or they wrote it as ask. As they wrote ask to be first, then seek, and then knock. But when it says seek ye first, that is to show that seek should be first. So because they didn't know distance, the way I arranged it. So they wouldn't try to look for the one that will come first. Because if you say knock, did they really know what is it that when you are doing, then you are knocking? To them, it's like praying and praying and praying, and that those kind of prayers, like you want to pray yourself out, something like that. So that's knocking, like taking barriers away, obstacles away, breaking through, anything like that's knocking. They never knew it's not that. You see, so there are essential informations that the church lacked, and it affected them badly. I came again today to discuss with you another one that will help you see why people that were supposed to be princes, people that were supposed to, when it comes to mental strength, they are not to be compared to those that are impure hominids, those that are tares. A tare is so inferior. A third is so inferior in every realm. A third is so inferior. I mean, is an inferior species in comparison to a pure hominid. You see, when it comes to these things like wisdom, when it comes to these things, like when you say mental prowess, intellectual versatility, intellectual sagacity, somebody who looks at things just one-sidedly and the one that will look at it on many sides, someone whose anger can make him shoot somebody after the person has died, then he will not like, what have I done? And somebody that no matter the anger, he cannot make him do that. Someone who something just because it's sweet like sugar, I mean so sweet, he consumes it and consumes it and becomes sick in the long run. And someone who when it's so sweet, he still takes it easy. He can perceive that he doesn't have to consume that as much because it's so sweet. Someone who can also sense something that can become addictive, that can make him an addict, and is a habit that is not good. And no, this is not what to give myself into. And so on. Mental strength. Someone who can see something that is treasurable, something of a high value, but is even disguised. The thing is disguised. And the person, we know. Why? Because in as much as the thing is disguised, that's still what will make him, whoever that person is. I mean, that's what will help him, like make him know, wow, this is such a blessing that is in a park, like it's untapped. I mean, are you get what I'm saying? Someone that even speaking in parables, talking in parables, will not make him or affect him the way it would have affected someone, the other that is a third. Someone that you give parables, and even if he didn't get it 100%, it wouldn't ridicule him. It will not become a riddle. That means what led him astray because of the way the thing sounded. Something like that. That's how it's supposed to be when it comes to pure hominids in comparison to the impure. Just like there are weeds, WHEATS, weeds, and there are weeds, WEED. Just like there is, like there are originals. When you say that something is the original or is an original version. And then there are also, like, let's say, fake versions of that original or carbon copies of that original. So that's how their versions are. You see, a tear is not is not someone that God gave. When you're talking about children, someone or we receives from the God Almighty, the giver of children. Where then could theirs have? Where could they have come from, or could they have been coming from? These are not things you see by just opening the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and so on. You see, prophets explain these things. He even touched the first person that was given birth to biologically, and they called that person Cain. And they wrote that the people that called that person that name said, we have received a child, like male child, from God. The prophet said, no, that was not actually what they said. And that family, that man and woman, they referred to as Adam and Eve. They are eminence. They happen to actually be the principal ancestors of the mankind race. And went further to touch, even, in fact, in the commandments, the fourth one that said, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long. He brought it also into the message and explain some things there, and why God will say that your days may be long, that your days may be long. It is not in the literal aspect of just listening to your biological parents here. That there are people that their parents are not models to them. There are people that in listening to their dad or their mom or both, they went the wrong way. There are people that can be, for instance, let's say Christians, while their parents or their dad or their mom, whichever one, happen to actually be a pagan, for instance. You see, your prophet touched these things. And so, and he said that the very principal ancestor of the mankind race is not just somebody who is only principal ancestor because because some people even saying that he is the principal ancestor of the mankind race, they just still feel okay, yeah, I understand, that is the first person. From there the people started becoming many. They still they are still yet to catch it from what I'm talking about. That's from this point that has to do with hierarchical order. There's the hierarchical order. There is the constellation order or stellar/constellation order also of the mankind race, the family tree of the very mankind race. And you should also understand that the spirit, that which is born of the spirit is spirit. That the spirit gives birth. And then that is different from that embryo, from that fertilized egg that started forming. And the very cell started becoming many by what is called cell division. And that cell division is 1 divided into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 8,024, 2,048, 4,096. You see, he keeps going that way, but building a baby body, either male or female. If the sex chromosome is XY, that's male body. If it is XX, that's female body. You see, and that science, that biology, according to how life is here, is not the spirit being, is the body. All of that has to do with the body. There is the spirit being and the person that sent that very spirit being into that body. And there is a particular time the person did it. That person that sent that spirit being is the very giver of the child. It is not that when God does not give children in this aspect of when they wrote that he said, be fruitful and multiply. That's all. Be fruitful and multiply is good for animals that you know here. You see, that human beings, there is, in fact, the aspect of that image of God and making somebody that is like God, the detail in that phrase, if I should go into it, is what would have helped the church. That's if they had known that the God gave birth to someone like him. And then the God has a begotten, an only son, a begotten son, an only son that he loves so much, that he truly beget. He gave birth to that son. There is the details they didn't tell, which is supposed to be told. Why? Because there is, when it comes to giving birth in this kind of a planet, the man needs a woman. The man cannot give birth to someone by himself, all by himself. Him becoming pregnant by himself and then putting to birth by himself. He needs a female counterpart. That's the reason. When you say that God has a son and put begotten son there should be an explanation. If you didn't explain that, it will become vague. To become a vague kind of how do I put it? That is it. That's what gives room. That's what affected the church, in such that they have what they are saying that God said, and then those things they said that God said, which supposed to, if they are as God said them, would have been something that nobody in the earth here can bring out or bring what can rival it. Because God himself saying anything, we say whatever that is, from the height of his wisdom. So that means when you are looking at those words of God, those things they say that God said, you will also see that there is the wisdom in the very thing that God is saying. That's such a height of wisdom. You see, when they wrote that as a man thinketh so easy, what does that really mean? As a man thinketh so easy. Someone who is forward will hardly believe someone else that is pure, that is not forward at all. You see, why? Because he is forward, so he thinks that way. Just like they say, like somebody who kills with a machete. When another holds a machete and is going towards his back, he will be turning. He will be talking. Now, even if that person that holds that machete has not that in mind, but was just like passing to go to farm. Because that person kills with that machete. As the person goes behind him, he will be turning. You see, that's what they are trying to say. So a forward person did not become forward by doing forward things. The person is forward even when he has not yet done the thing that is forward. You see, just like a baby born today the baby newly born was seen as a sinner. Not because he is a sinner, but because he has imperfect nature. That is, that being a subject at all at a time. That's what I mean. Because he has the ability to do things that are not good. And the inclination is there naturally. So the baby was already seen to be that way. That means the baby doesn't have to commit that to be called that. The baby was already seen that way. Now, all of those things, like the aspect of righteousness, is also what the church needs to really, really understand. What does God mean by expecting me to practice the height of moral standard? That if I should please him, even in my mind, even in my thinking faculty, I should never conceptualize anything immoral. Oh, who really like to do anything that is filthy? I don't think anyone really, really would like to do so. That means the main point is not just about doing that. It's about the inclinations in the body you have. It's about the natural inclinations and instincts in your body. It's about what can happen that may not have happened. Things you have tendencies of. Can you be just watching, let's say, television screen, and see what it was never what you intended doing, but you see that thing was affecting you, like seductively, just what you were watching. If it was so, what about the inclination? Who gave you the inclination? The lion in the bush that tears other animals, that is carnivorous. When you face the lion and say to the lion, you are a killer. You are a killer. You are evil. The lion did not really see it that way. When the lion is hungry, what the lion will see and the appetite in his body will make him to go after that thing is what the matter is. You see, now what I'm trying to say is this, that there are the basics. Like when a child is going through that, like going to school, the child starts from a certain elementary or kindergarten class, Why? Because the child has to be taught gradually and from a certain point. You see, the child has to learn a lot. Even before the child starts reading, the child must have learned to some extent. That's how also this matter is. You see, prophet, when praying, few minutes ago, he sounded this way. He said, apart from addressing the God, he said, those that thought that man is a vertebrate, simply meaning animal with backbone. A mammal, simply meaning animal that breastfeeds his or her offspring. Multicellular organism, simply meaning animal that when it comes to the way they reproduce, the formation of whatever that is in the womb that carries the baby version of that particular animal, it is that same way that has to do with cell division. That is to say, as thing is happening, does not mean that the cell, like if it divides into two, it didn't now mean that is no longer full. That means half, and then it's still pieces, like it's pieces. No, not actually. That means, but it's becoming, it's multiplying. But one gets to a point and then divides, you see, and becomes two. That's what it means. Not exactly like you break something that is, if it's round, if you break it, it will no longer be round each. It will not be like round thing that you broke into two. Not that way. You see, so it's a multicellular organism. So it has many cells that built the very person. So they were judging the man. They were defining the man based on the characteristics and features of the body that they see here. And that body is animalistic. That body is the animal kind of body. Simply meaning, if they should cut the skin of the person and hold it like this, or go to where, let's say an abattoir, or where they are selling meat, and put it on the table, somebody can see it and call it beef. Simple. You see, so they categorize the man based on this kind of things. Now the prophet is saying, or when he prayed, he said, those that thought that man is a vertebrate, a mammal, multicellular organism, and so on, defining man by the features and characteristics of the mortal body, categorizing man among animals that are in this earth, are being judged today. Wow. If you look at this, it sounds like, what do you mean? Like, what wrong have they done? You know, what wrong have they done? They are, explaining what is scientifically, like provable. So what are you saying? From embryo to the state or stage they call fetus, until the baby is fully complete and then come out from the womb, and the baby needs breast milk, to the extent that even cow milk can even there are infant formulas, and cow milk can feed from a certain month a baby, like a human being that is in that size can take milk that cow produced, something like that. So what wrong have they done, prophet? Oh, there is a certain irreverence that you didn't see. That if you look at the fact that in the very Genesis account, there was what they wrote, that when it came to the point of making or building or sculpting or coupling the man, as they wrote, that was what the God that was referred to in that story as the God of creation and the Almighty God. That is to say, it was just him that is the highest, the Almighty, the Most High, and so on. And he has his attributes. Now, that he said, that was what they wrote that he said, that he never said when it comes to other creatures. And what was that? I'm not calling man a creature here. I'm just talking generally, okay? So, what was it that they wrote? They wrote that God said, at that juncture that God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. In our image, after our likeness. Prophet explained why that our, O-U-R, our. When the God is one. The God is one. What about the hour? What about the us? Let us. That it needs to be explained well. Our children are growing. Our children are growing. Don't you think so? Look at what the things that are in the computer that are now electronically being archived. Today there is what they refer to as the cloud. Things are stored in the cloud. You don't have to see the very cloud. All you do is to handle the iPad or the phone. All you do is to pay little money, and the informations that you value, that are relevant to you, can be stored. You are even taking some, what they call it, like that, snapping yourself. This selfie. Just as you're doing it, the iPad or your phone is already recording it and writing dates for you. The day you did it. The date is there. You see, many things already in the very devices. And you know how that these things rather gets better and better. Like they rather upgrade, something like that. You see, so today the Bible in different versions, different translations, different languages, in the same, that's the very device I'm talking about. That is worldwide. You see, and people do say that is the future. That is the future. That if you cannot adjust to it, like if you don't want to adapt that, then you want to be knocked out, something like that. So that the future is this, electronic version of everything. That things are going electronic. So, if you truly care about the status or about the reputation of the God Almighty, whose image has suffered a lot of blasphemy, is also in the Revelation chapters. Imagine that somebody by the name Charles Darwin said or gave to the Western education his own findings and it was endorsed. And what was that? That the very man is a product of evolution, pointing to the ancestors or ancestral lineage of the very man. And you know what I'm talking about. And that passed, apart from the Homo, like Homo sapiens, habilis, erectus, Neanderthals, then it got to apes, like chimpanzees, like gorillas, like monkeys. That kind of thing, those kind of animals that has not their language there, like you can hear me. Mental prowess is obvious and evident that you cannot wait for them to manufacture these things you use. They don't even have their bath. They don't even know. They cannot build a hospital for themselves. They cannot inject any of them if any is sick. And so on. That's who they pointed, that Charles Darwin pointed. That's the direction he pointed to you. As that these are your ancestors or ancestral lineage. And much more than that. You see. But then there were things that can make it look like it is so. Because of that word, evolution. So there is the evolution theory. You see. And so on. What about the account of Genesis? What about that? You are a Christian, right? What about that? That's the point, is that you are a Christian. If you are not a Christian, that's a different thing. Being a Christian simply means that you should not believe what is against what was written in the Bible. Else, you will only say you are a Christian, but you're not really, you're yet to become that Christian that you are claiming you are. You see, that is the reason. You still see, our children, we send them to school. Schools that also have endorsed that. And they keep, the thing keeps gaining height in terms of their acceptability of that, because of what is called facts. So they seem to be bringing facts. They seem to be pointing to a whole lot skulls that they can say these are fossils. They can tell you how many years the skull has been in a place. You don't have to read everywhere. I want to know how. If they say to you, look, this is 600, 700, 800, 900 years in the earth, you don't have to say, oh, okay, please, I want to know, like, how sure, like, how did you come to, how did you know that is so? If or they show you, like, this, no, this can tell how long something has stayed. Why wouldn't you ask? Because there are also devices or tools that just coming on your wrist like this, it tells you how your pulse is. Maybe in the armpit, as you close the armpit, it tells you your temperature, internal temperature. You see, your heartbeat as well. You see, it can show you the baby body that is still forming. I mean, something again. Show you how the baby body is, or the position of the baby. And tell you a whole lot. You know what I mean? So it makes it look like like you shouldn't ask questions. You don't no need. Are you not seeing things that is being manufactured? Like they are rather factual. You know, like they call it science. While that aspect of the Bible, the things the Bible said and so on, are rather things you just believe. And then they gave it to faith. That is to say, not science-based. You don't have to really like look for like how, just like if I know that if I should leave this handkerchief, it falls on the ground. I don't need to say, I believe if I leave this handkerchief. If you tell me, no, I don't need to believe. It doesn't need belief. It has nothing to do with belief. That is to say, whether you believe it or not, if you leave it, it falls on the ground. Oh, that's natural. That is where they place that science, those sciences. While if I say, well, I believe that if I leave this handkerchief, it will hang on air. Then you look at, okay, let's see. You see, which is to say, it is now unreal. It is not usual. That is the reason for that. I believe that. So they will give it to, okay, your faith, right? Your faith. Okay, let's see how it will work. Did you see? Now that's where they placed everything that the Bible has to say. So it is what is at the mercy of belief, which is to say, you can believe in even God or not believe. Some people will tell you, well, I believe in God. Someone can also say, okay, yes, I believe in miracles. You see, so it's something to believe in or not to believe in. Yet the Bible had or has even an account that has to do with somebody that came out from the womb of a woman or a lady that was not gotten pregnant by any human being. And that the girl in question was even a virgin before the pregnancy. That nobody also was the person that got her pregnant. And that it was from the name Jesus Christ, his preeminence, Christ, that the name Christianity came from. Wow. What a narration or narrative. Or what an analogy. Now what I'm trying to say is this, that you see, supernatural realities are actually more real than the things you see here in this kind of a planet. Just like water that is liquid that you can see can go gaseous, can evaporate over time. Just like water that you can see can get blocked in a freezing temperature. And you see that it is hard. That means that liquid aspect of it, that you can define it. If you define it based on that liquid, as that's when you say, well, things like that, like is unstable. It's unstable. So not when it has blocked. If it blocks, it becomes stable. As long as it remains blocked. If someone should pour you liquid water, the effect of it will be different. If someone should throw that solid water or that water that's gotten blocked. You see, that is, that whole thing, that thing I explained now, is how all the things you can see when it comes to a water-borne planet, that's how they are. Even metals that are there. It does. You may say, what do you mean? What do you mean? Metals. If you say metals can rust, in fact, there's some that cannot even. That you are being too literal to what I'm talking about. If like the end of this terrestrial should show up, that's how they will be going back to their matrix. That's why the gold of this earth can be melted, and so on. There is where you have to really start from to understand the things that God is talking about. When it comes to a planet like this, it has her lifestyle. It has how things are. Like we wear clothes, we put on clothes. We eat food. There are different foods. Then they give different things, and you need them. There's also water. And apart from water, liquid water, there's also some other liquid drinks. They do give also what is different from what the water gives. You're thirsty, you drink water. That's different from if you should take juice. Water gives water. Juice does not give water. When your body needs water, you take water. If you take juice in the place of water, you only realize that you have not taken what your body is asking for. Something like that. That is also how there is another kind of planet. That is the kind that the God of creation made to last forever. That is the kind that the God of creation made, that people that will be inside that planet, they do not age, not to talk of die. There is not even aging. When you have not really understood or looked into that very well, you wouldn't understand that the very aging is not just when you are now getting weaker and weaker. But there's nothing like something becoming no longer new. That's a newness of everything. You know how if you open something, that first time, like when they use the word tear rubber, when you have opened that thing, there's always that newness it has. It cannot drop one bit. Rather, it goes from one aspect of newness to another, like colors of like there are different colors or shades of beauty, something like that. There's nothing like something being no longer new. There is that heaven's world. You need to understand. There's that another place, another kind of planet like this. I'm not referring to like Jupiter, Pluto, Mars, Venus, and so I'm not referring to those ones. They are all water-borne planets. All of them are water-borne planets. They are all existing because of the earth. Because of the earth. The earth is the habitable planet. No matter how they go into the moon to do this and that, put their flags, and no matter how they do that, there will never come a time human beings will be living inside the moon. I am telling you. There are things that you should understand that will be very, very helpful to you. They are not things to turn deaf ears to. They are not my words. They are the words of the God Almighty, the God of creation. You need to know where you came from. You need to know where you used to be before your mother conceived you. Conceived your body, actually. But that's the one you know. Okay, that's okay. But the one when I say conceived you, means when God sent your spirit being. And that spirit being was given birth to by another spirit being. You have a super bio father. Birth there is paternal, not maternal. The man can give birth to a fellow man there. You don't give birth to babies. Nobody gives birth. And then, in that place is called the father's bosom. A spirit being does not give birth to a spirit being that is a baby. You know what I mean? Like baby size that you know here. And then that baby will need like breast milk. Sorry, you start growing gradually. No, it does not. It's not that way. And for you to understand that too, you have to understand the birth, the first person that was given. That's the birth of the Son of God. Where was it that very Son of God was given birth to? Where was it that took place? How did God give birth to a son? Question mark. How did God give birth to his son? Question mark. Very important question. How did God, capital G-O-D, give birth to his son? And where did that happen? That can help you to look again at that celebration of the Son of God, which they do 25th of December of every year. I'm not in any way kicking against it, but just with that knowledge I'm talking about, this understanding, it helps you to celebrate it the right way. You see, that the Son of God actually was not born here. The Son that God gave birth to, the Son of God. And that there's a difference between the Son of God and God the Son. Different people entirely. And the reason that, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Most Holy Spirit is one person. But you should understand why they are called that way. And understanding it makes you to understand the name Elohim, maximum reverence. It makes you to understand that name is in the plural. That's the reason for that. Let us. And the modern day Bible have removed the name I called now. That is what is making it more difficult if my type is no longer in the earth. The name is now going. What is only remaining now is that us. Like let us. Making it the more confusing to the children that will read it. God said, let us make man in our own image. And God said, the man has become like one of us. Who are the us? The children deserves to know. If you care that there are other religious sects and that Christianity can be losing them, can be losing those that are Christians to those people, those very religious sects, you're supposed to not look away from what I'm saying. You see, what the prophet is bringing out is something that if you listen well, you will know that this is pure. This is not that kind that when the preacher is bringing out one thing or the other, he does it with regards and a lot of respect to the lucrers, whether filthy or not. That is simply meaning things you consider in a planet like this that you need, and that you should not go into what can rather chase the people away because you need them. Not because you need them does not mean because you need them, you need someone that will listen to you, but because you need their money, you need their offerings. This is not the kind of preacher who has that kind of mind and is bringing and is doing these things that he's doing. When they say that something is lucrative, you see, lucrative. That is why they say that thing is lucrative. Many delved into church ministry because they saw that, or they judged it lucrative. When individuals can call even church ministries, their ministries by their name. You see, when someone can say, I am evangelist so person, and that's all he does is to go from one country to the other, and he can fill in a stadium, traveling from a country to another, and that's what he came for. Not exactly going on the streets to talk to people who needed to know what they didn't know before. But he was just coming because he has such anointing. And the people that will gather for him in the very stadium are already Christians. And churches will organize them and say, this person is coming. And the people will gather and fill the stadium that are already Christian. Why is he coming? Evangelist. Why is that evangelist coming? The evangelist is coming because he has such anointing that after saying one or two things or saying some things, he will say to them, there will be the time for miracles. So that's why when he comes, the people will fill the stadium because they are looking for one miracle or the other. You see, this is not that kind. This is that kind that whenever it comes, according to history also, they have always had issues with what is already on ground. The peak of that is Jesus of Nazareth, his premise. They have issues, serious issues with what he was saying. You see, certain people, they rather felt threatened by what he was saying. To the extent that the miracles, that is only him. Jesus Christ, his preeminence, is the God, capital G-O-D, in an incarnate manifestation, who came in the shoes of the Son of God, so that he will build mankind, Adam, his eminence, and Mother Eve. Why? Because they committed a certain, or paid a certain price, which was that story they told. That infringement was what they committed. That infringement is different from sin. The Son of God is Adam, his eminence, and he cannot sin because the gene of God is in him. The very Son of God, Adam, the very person in question, is not the body that was coupled. It was the spirit being that was immersed into that body. That was what made baptism a sacrament. Baptism means immerse into, submerge into. So the spirit being of that very person is the main person. And the body that got coupled, the material for that coupling was not sand, was not clay, was not earth, was not an earthen thing. That is what you go into the earth and start looking for, like sand, clay, and so on. That was such a huge offense that is of a global proportion. That the like this thing they call handicraft technology. Handicraft. That means it's not just that it's technology. They acknowledge a certain kind that involves hand and labor. You see, I'm talking about not just God creating and bringing the things he created in his most holy faculty into tangible reality, but that this one has to do with the God himself working with his hand. And what he used to build or couple or sculpt that physical body is a genetic material. You cannot use what is not a genetic material to build a body and put a spirit being inside. And the spirit being will go in and they become one. That is the spirit being with a spirit body inside or programmed in the soul, then immersed into that physical body. And the hand of that body becomes the hand of the spirit being and so on. It cannot happen when it's not a genetic material. You see, there is the synchronization of that spirit being or that spirit body and the physical body that must happen 100% sync. S-Y-N-C-H. Sync. 100% synchronization. There are sense organs. There must be a unism. The kind that, when, like you say, 1 + 1 = 1. That's the kind I'm talking about. The spirit and the body. This is one thing that people are. They are the people who are seeking. As claimed, the very truth are yet to know. Jesus of Nazareth's permanence is the God in an incarnate manifestation. He came as the bell price. It was not his blood that was needed. God is not a ritualist. It was him that has to go to replace somebody. But he overpowered what's supposed to hold what's supposed to receive him. That is as simple as that. You see. So there is such thing as the law for procreation. Except a seed falls down and die, it abided alone. That's so common in this kind of a planet. You plant something. You don't plant something inside in the air. You plant it into, as you dig ground and put it. The terrestrial agriculture. Then it needs also, it has her requirements. And before the thing starts growing, you couldn't still understand this. The physical body that got coupled was not in a state that was referred to now that human bodies are. So you can see, for all have sinned and fallen short of certain glory. Oh, and that was still pointing to what happened in the very Garden of Eden. So that means before that happened, then their bodies were not supposed to be in a fallen state. So what will you call that state that they were before the fallen state? The opposite of fallen should be what? Then how will you explain that body? Are you sure that body can go to the toilet? Are you sure that physical body can urinate? And so on. At that time. So there is something that people are yet to understand. And the people that wrote, the way the Genesis chapters also, the account was written, did not help matters at all. You see, it is completely unbelievable that Eden that was referred to there was actually not anywhere in this earth. Or is not actually anywhere in this earth. That is actually a heaven's world. When I said it, it sounded so strange that Eden is a heaven's world. And the tree of life is still intact. And that's not only the tree that's in that very heaven's world. And it's not only a garden. There's a garden aspect, that's the city. And it's the same place that Revelation chapter has pointed to. But didn't now call that Eden. It doesn't have to. It was basic. It was intended to be so. But rather, they used the word paradise of God. Paradise of God. You see, all of these things was also to help you that at a time when that person will emerge and start dishing out these things, you will understand that he is that another voice of that was written in Revelation chapters. Because you would have seen that there's no other preacher that has that kind of message he's bringing out. You would have seen that there's no Bible school that has that thing that he has been bringing out. You have seen that there's no encyclopedia in all that you can find, look for those kind of things that you can search. Maybe that's where he was getting those things, that you see the things that he was bringing out, at least to help you to know. Then, truly, there is, that the most Holy Spirit, which is the Spirit of God Almighty, can truly teach somebody wearing mortal body in a planet like this. You see, and there is a reason somebody can mediate between the God and the people. Else, no need of God teaching somebody to teach you. He should teach everybody. He should teach you, as all you need is to give him. All you should do is to have time for that, and make sure the requirements or prerequisites for that you can render. You can keep. You see, so what I'm trying to say here is this: that to be a priest, even the people are yet to understand what it means to be a priest. That's why, for instance, many people today are saying that I'm a priest, I'm a priest, I'm a priest. They didn't even know what it means to be a priest. The definition of priesthood, what it is, who a priest is. And a priest has his duty. He is a mediator between a people and an oracle. And an oracle in this sense is not just what was received from the God Almighty, but the deity aspect of all of that. So he is a custodian of divine secrets that are private, seriously private, seriously what he should keep well, that he should communicate or teach a people. And should be able to also know that there are the enemies of that. And that person must be someone who has the ability to hear from the God, who has 3 different modes of operation. But the one that is the paramount is the most Holy Spirit mode of operation. The God of creation has 3 different modes of operation. The mode of operation that he does when he's hanging planets on air, for instance. Common sense will tell you that, if God truly hung planets on air, will he be inside the planet to hang the planet on air? He should be outside the planet to do so. Then also, how will his size be? Will his size be your size now, like your size, to hang planets on air? 2, common sense will even tell you, if that God has no beginning, but the planet has a beginning, that means when they say that the planet, like earth is his footstool, and heaven is his throne, so where was he all the while that heaven was, or the heavens were yet to be created and brought to tangible reality by him, the same God? Where was it? Was it that he was where? You see? And then the God, also there are attributes to the God. Like when you look at yourself, you can say, yes, I can raise my hand up and bring it down. Yes, I can walk. I can run. I can jump. That's based on the abilities of your physical body. That's also how it is where the God is. There are things that the God can do. He is all seeing. You need to understand how. He is all knowing. You need to understand how. He is perfect. He does not make mistake. He is perfect by nature. You have to understand that. He gets it at once. He is, when you say someone is thorough, he's perfect also in that aspect. Like he's thorough. He finishes it. Like you can't make it better than what he has. Like the thing has gotten to its best state. But this kind of a planet will not help you to understand that aspect. So I am only explaining to you that this very planet, there was a reason for him to hang this kind of a planet and then fill the planet with everything that you need with this kind of body you have now. But then, he never built one house. He never built any house here. He didn't even tar the road. Like when he said that a road is tarred, he didn't tar any. Plants like trees were like as though they were not planned. You know, like we say, okay, this is the garden aspect. This is where people stay, that like the city, where people should, like houses will be. It was just here and there, here and there. Then trees, they don't have same sizes. You can see one so tall, you see another average, you see another short. You see, you know. Then also fruits get ripe and overripe and fall even and litter the ground. And then the fruits as they are there, houseflies can perch on them. Birds can perch and even be eaten from the tree, from the fruit. Someone was waiting for to harvest, like to get for himself or to go to sell, and so on. It is not how it is in the heavens worlds. There's a reason it is this way here. God also told that the very person who is the one person that can represent the entire mankind race, all these things. That everything you need is here. All you do is to replenish them. What does it mean to replenish? The trees are already there, but you plant them. You don't just eat and throw away. And you should know that, like orange, for instance, the seed in that orange is something you can plant. And over time, it grows again. So that's a must do. And you have to also teach the people who are children in the earth here. You see, that's the origin of agriculture, the kind we have here. The very first man, that very Adam, His Eminence, taught that. He taught the people. He taught the children that were around him. This is what you must do. Okay? Because there are basic amenities that's things you need here. Just like clothing. He taught them how to make, not just that you should cover your body. I mean, how to make it, what to use to make it at that time. You see, and so on. Common sense will tell you that he should have. If not, how were they surviving? How were they surviving? Do you know there's a lot of things in the earth already today? Do you know how it was then? Do you know how it was then? I mean, things that will now help you. If you're sweating, you have what maybe can fan you or blow breeze on you. If you're so hot, you have what can help to cool the temperature or condition the temperature of where you're staying. If you're cold, so cold, you have even how can make you warm and so on. What about that? What about that time? I don't have to talk about the medical aspect. You know, the medical aspect. I don't have to talk about that. You see, the terrestrial earth, I mean, the earth has become terrestrial as at the time they were coming. I mean, they came into this earth. It was unbelievable when I said that these people did not walk out of Eden into some other place that is all in the earth here. That they were carried from the heavens world into this planet. And that it was a flying vehicle, like what we call aeroplane today. The one that God himself made. And that's why human beings can even make it in the first place. You see. And that it was piloted by Archangel Michael. And that an angel has a different anatomy with wings. If God should ever say, let us make man in our own image, and the man you can see has no wings, it does not mean, that means then if angel has wings, why will an angel be a Michael when Michael means like God? Look at just this. Angel means like, Michael means like God. So if the person that, when it gets to the turn of the God making a particular race, if I put it that way, or someone who will be the one that will multiply the race, then he said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and so on. Why will an angel be like God? When you know that angels has wings, at least, let me put it that way, they have wings. Do God have wing? Why didn't man have wing? Since man is like God. These things prophet has been explaining that. Who that Michael is. Who gave him the authority to bear the name until a time. Even where they wrote about someone relinquishing something, they still wrote that it was Jesus, his preeminence. And what he will relinquish? He will relinquish to the God Almighty that is his son. That he is son to that is his father. And so that he will also become a subject under the God, and we will all be the same. Like the spirit that made him, the spirit that made him who he was, and all those things he did. Also, God shares to us. He shares to other people. So we will now be all the same. The difference will be that he is the senior, like he is your senior brother. So we will all become sons of God, like he is son of God. So the difference is that he was the first. Then we will now follow. But our own was by adoption. What a people. You see, now the prophet has been explaining these things for free. Something so precious, something so informing, and he goes about it like the thing has no value, like it's not a pearl of great price in a planet like this. But one thing I know is that the words of God never go out without it, as in go out and it was wasted. God does not do things that way. Else, God has no hand in it. God, he does not invest in wastes. He does not sponsor something and it's all a waste. God sees what will happen before it happens. My dear, there are things that you need to understand. A lot of bamboozle has been happening out there. This is such a divine intervention. Miracle looks so nice, looks so good. That's very true. But I tell you, there is a way it is happening today. Take it or leave it. I am telling you the truth. I am telling you, there is more that I see than what is the truth today when it comes to, in terms of that miracle stuff. There's a whole lot that you need to understand, my dear. These people they don't really care about how people see them. And let me tell you, there's something about theirs. They knew that when it comes to fame, F-A-M-E, among the prizes that is a must pay prizes if you want to be famous, is that you must develop tough skin when it comes to those kind of things that is under one word I will use now, which is criticism. Now when it comes to criticisms, you must develop tough skin when it comes to that. No matter how you are being criticized, even if the person, for instance, is a musician and then attain fame, that means get to the point where he or she becomes famous. Not about being a celebrity. It is not about being because at times even the people they thought celebrates them, still will not really tell their children, emulate this person. Because they know they promote immorality in one way or the other. They know that there's this thing about many of these musicians, for instance, that has attained that seems to be very prosperous financially because of the nature of because of the kind of life that is in this planet. You see, so they take advantage of your lusts, L-U-S-T-S, the lusts in the flesh, the kind of body you have here. So it's not likely that many people will not buy into what they do. You see, they can show teeth. That it's not just about showing teeth, and the teeth has some things they fixed in it. They can show neck, and it's not just that they have a lot of necklaces or chains on them. They can show body, and it's not just about the body being in such a way that when your body is that way, you are likely to be among the people that they will say is supposed to be fit. It's not just about showing walking, the style of walk, and what they wear. Maybe they didn't wear anything up, and it's just trouser or short, and the thing is on the half of the bum, what they call sagging. Not just that, but what they do. They can hold they can be smoking. They can be on a chair, and there are women left, right, and center. They can be inside pool, and there are they do that without shame. That's what I'm saying. No, any kind of shame. You can see a child. Someone that is below 30. He does what if you see, you ask, is this person's biological mother still in the earth? That is what normally a pure woman, even if you are doing it, you wouldn't be able to do it while your biological mother watches you. These people, Their biological mother, some of them, watch them. Their biological father, watch them. They don't really care. They don't really care. At times, they also, do tell them, why would you be? This is not really nice. This is a height of immorality. And they don't really care. Once the money is coming, they tell them, mommy or daddy or parents, this is what the people buys. You ask me money, I give you. Can't you see the things I'm buying? Are you not seeing that you can pose for your colleagues? For your peers. Were you not telling me before? Look at this woman. This woman was from my side. And she is also my age. Look at her son. Her son is the one that is importing so thing. Her son is, or this other person's son is the bank manager of so bank, of so branch. This person is an engineer. And what are you all you do is to go from one studio to another. I don't understand what is this thing, you see. And now you can see where that thing that you condemned has gotten me to. They move from one nightclub to another. They move from one country to another, and so on. And they seem to be forgetting that very trend has been. There are names that if you should think of today, you will be like, but that's true. Where is this person? Where is that person? That's how it has always been. After some time, they forget that person. When the person gets to where goes to go to, the person will understand that, it's not just about that's doing what is not good. It's actually among the fake versions of the pure hominids. And that was why he has that kind of talent and the fallen nature that the pure hominids are in, which is simply meaning the body that you have now is not exactly in synchronization, 100% synchronization status with your spirit being. So the very pure hominid has where he used to be, and so on, before he was a master. He squatted. Like some people will be like, does that mean that, okay, what about the baby size that is so small? I've also taught these things. That's such as squatting. That was what the life of Naaman, Naaman, was pointing to. That 7 squats is different from baptism. Completely different from baptism. Baptism is that there should be somebody in the river that will do that for the person. Not you squatting yourself inside. Naaman went into Jordan without anybody. He was the one that immersed him. That squatted in. While baptism is not by squatting. It is by being lowered like this. And it must be done that way. It must be done that way. You see. And for you to understand what baptism is, in the aspect of the thing being something that you're supposed to do, and that's supposed to fetch you a result, you must understand what salvation is, what being among the heirs of salvation is. Why will you be immersed into water and brought out again? What was that for? What if you didn't do it? What will you be missing? Why didn't that start? Why was it that it started from the time of Jesus' preeminence? Like it was highlighted from that side, from that time. All of these things are the things that the prophet has been explaining. It's such a wonderful thing to have this kind of person teach you as your man of God every week. It's such a blessing to have this kind of a person come from your country. I am telling you the truth. It's such a blessing to have this kind of a person be someone that you walk around and so on. I am not saying this now as the prophet. I'm saying this like I stepped out, like I stepped aside myself and look at the person. It's such a blessing to have that kind of a person be a member of your family. To have that kind of a person
Be someone that is your teacher, your mentor, your preacher, your prophet, your man of God, your dad, your this, that, such a blessing, such a blessing. But I also saw why many, that whole thing is not the assurance, the guarantee that you will get that is what you're supposed to get, like someone who is running and running, get to a certain line. Once the person has gotten to that line and then cross, then the person receives a certain, like trophy. That is not the basics for it. You see, I would like to go straight to the point. You see, like I said, I call this Rabbi Class because the things that you might hear or you are likely to hear from him at one point or the other is not the kind that's supposed to be really easy for people who are not good students of the Bible. So it is not like I mean, okay. I hope you understand that anyway. So, but he is still advising you not to say, "Oh, okay, let me now go," because even the people you think are good students of the Bible, I personally have seen that they, in thinking they knew, only realized they didn't actually know, because what they thought was it. In hearing these things, they discover that it needs to even be purged from their mindset. You see, songs sang to God, many of them were wrong. Names they call God, the approach with which they even, I mean what they see God to. Imagine the Spirit of God as Holy Spirit, when the God is supposed to be the most holy. Imagine the very Spirit of God as what is shared to people, and that your body, the body you have now, is His temple. Do you know what it means to be possessed? And what it means to, when you say that demons possess somebody, demons can possess somebody. If your body is the temple of God's own spirit being, that means God's spirit being lacked temple. God is all sufficient. You know what it means? He is all sufficient. He lacks nothing. If your body is God's temple, wow! What about when the body has died? What about when that body dies? Don't you think that the decay that body experiences is enough for you to ask again? Did you say this is the temple, holy house of God, the Spirit of God Almighty? I don't have to talk about the fact that parasites, bacteria, fungi, virus, what they can do to the very body. You didn't get the thing well, my dear. Your body is your body. You are not the body. You are the spirit being in the body. See how scientists define you. They said that you are a vertebrate simply because they saw that you have backbone. That's what made you or bring you under the umbrella, an animal with backbone. They said you were a mammal because you were breastfed. You're supposed to be breastfed when you were a baby. So you take it from there until you can eat meat and strong or bones and so on. They categorized you based on that as a mammal. They said you are also a multicellular organism, because they watched how babies form and they judged you, call you name based on that. So you are a multicellular organism. Which people are that? The same Western education that told you that you are a product of evolution. Spoke about the Big Bang Theory. All of this, if you look at it very well, you see that it is kicking exactly or opposing the Genesis account of creation. You see, and that looks like even is not something to trust, because if you look at what was written there, that's the way it was looking. Venus, Pluto, Mars, Jupiter, name them, were not represented there. You see, heaven is what? At a time it was now looking like it is the sky, the firmament.
God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was, you see, the heaven now was not something to talk about anymore. Cherubim were mentioned as what can or what should guard the garden. Then Moses said that the God told him that a cherub is a creature that has 6 wings. That a cherub has many eyes. Have you sighted any in the earth? Has also historians told you, like when there were dinosaurs, that there was also something like that. That or they were the cherubim. The Bible that even in writing cherubim, they write cherubims, seraphims, to show you how too far they were that were translating the revelations of prophets. What it is prophets that are in the better position or best position to explain it. You see, what I want to discuss with you today has to do with tradition. It has to do with the tradition and culture we have here. We have in this kind of a planet. How did they come? Amongst what divides us is that when you talk about where you are from in this kind of a planet, I mean not just about your parents now, the side you are from. If you are from, let's say, Nigeria, or you are from Kenya, or you are from, South Africa, Dubai, you are from England, you are from United States, you are from Australia, you are from Dubai. You see that you're not just about the place you call the name, but their way of life, their values, their moral principles, their tradition. You see. So how did these things come? How did they come? When it comes to wedding, for instance, what's called church wedding, people still say things like traditional wedding. You see, aside court wedding, aside church wedding, there's still that one they call traditional. Like church wedding is not traditional. Do you see? I just give that as an example to help you get where I'm coming from. For instance, someone who is wedding in the church, that's a priest anchoring the wedding and so on, according to Bible principles. The person will not say, no, I've wedded traditionally, you see. So when it comes to the traditional wedding, then it has to now do with the values of the people. That's the girl or the lady, where she came from. They will be consulted. And then that people will tell them, or tell the man, that's tell the suitor, these are the things you will give to us according to our tradition. Aside bride price, these are other things that are involved. The child is not just the parents that owns the child, There are the brothers or extended family of the very parents. The parents of the child. And they will all be like represented in what we're doing. Is their daughter, something like that. So, that will be in some cases in Africa here. That's what's called that's this list, List, list that they will give to the suitor and his family and his people. You see, so he will now go through all of that. You see, and we must buy those things. As he should buy those things and give to them. All is pointing to taking the child, that's the daughter, to become his wife. In the case of like Jacob, also, you see, so the very Laban said to Jacob, please, Jacob, oh, to marry my daughter, this is how you will do it. So you will serve me 7 years. Wow. What a kind of, you see, that's like bride price. That means I'm not asking for any other thing, but that's what you do. That means your labor, what you do that I said you should do for me, you do it for 7 years. At the end of the 7th year, the 7 years, then the child is yours. So that is what you give. That's the bride price. Did you see? Now, did that affect Israel in that aspect? What was that from? Because that Jacob, don't forget, was now the one that was later seen as the progenitor of the 12 patriarchs. When you talk tradition, you talk about the tradition of the fathers. In fact, to sound from the height where I'm teaching from. I will not just call it tradition. I will call it sacred tradition. I will call it sacred tradition. There is the sacred tradition of the fathers. Why tradition and fathers? Why will you, when you are talking about tradition, you ask the fathers? Why? Why is it that when you talk tradition, when you talk about tradition, you ask the fathers? It is because, you see, let me read a place for you, please. I want to be a bit quick now. You know, when prophet prayed, he quoted a place. Let me just remind you. He prayed this way: those that thought that man is a vertebrate, a mammal, multicellular organism, and so on, defining man by the features and characteristics of the mortal body, categorizing man among animals that are in this earth, are being judged today through these expository messages. Then he said, Mark chapter 7, verse 8 and 9 is better understood today. So I want to read from that very book of Mark chapter 7, verse 8 and 9. So I want us to quickly read Mark chapter 7, verse 8 and 9. I'm reading now as written. Mark chapter 7. I read from verse 8. They wrote it this way: for laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. Verse 9. And he said unto them, full well, ye reject the commandment of God, that ye may keep your own tradition. I repeat, verse 8. For laying aside the commandments of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups and many other such like things ye do. This was not written well. This was not actually in her accurate rendition. Therefore, I want to give you the correct rendition of that. The correct rendition of Mark chapter 7 verse 8 is this. They wrote it this way: for laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups and many other such like things you do. The prophet said that the correct rendering is this: you lay aside the heavenly patterns, because by the rudiments of this world, you set your tradition, like washing away debts, washing dishes, utensils, clothes, your body, and so on, which is not the heavenly kind of lifestyle, or which is not according to lifestyle in heaven's world. Now, what was it that Jesus Christ was actually pointing to here that made him, like they wrote, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups? Is that exactly what, when if you're talking about your tradition, will you say, yes, our tradition is washing of pots? No, you wouldn't say so. You wouldn't say so. Washing of pots, washing of utensils, pots, cups, and so on, is general. It is rather called lifestyle. It is amongst the lifestyle of people that are here. Why? It's not about the cups or jugs or pots. It's about the fact that you wash things. You wash dirt out of things, including your body, because your body can become dirty. You see, the wall can become dirty. I mean, your clothes can become dirty. So washing is amongst what you learn. You know it is done here. Did you see? So that is to say, that is to help you to know that what Jesus was pointing to was much more than those kind of things that you can talk about now as tradition. Well, tradition demands that you have to, if you kill a cow, when you're burying, for instance, your biological mother's body, if you are burying your biological mother's body and you are killing a cow, then You must understand that if you didn't kill a cow when you bury the body of your biological father, if your biological father has gone to where goes go to, if you didn't kill a cow then and you want to kill a cow when your mom was now the one you want to bury the body, then you have to first of all kill cow for your dad that went to where goes go to. I'm just giving an example. Okay, and then or else if you do that with as if you kill the cow when you are lowering the body of your mom or burying the body of your mom, oh, because you can at that time and you love her maybe, and so they just feel you should do it and so on. Not that it was exactly like you, not by force, but you wanted to. And then certain people then told you we are like the king's men, that if you do such thing, it's not just about killing cow to give to people. We will tell you the part of the very cow that must come to us. You see, now where your biological mom came from, because she came as somebody that was married. So she came from a side to stay with your dad. So that side that she came from must also be acknowledged. So you have to go to that side and then tell them this, that, and that, this. And they will tell you, oh, it's our daughter. It's our daughter this happened to. So that is to say, it is not just you that lost a loved one. It also happened to them. Therefore, if you are pasting a poster on, for instance, your gate, that your mom is no longer there, or your dad is no longer in the earth, something like that, it must also be done there. If he's, things like that. If you are giving maybe t-shirts, what if anybody wears, maybe has the picture of the person and some writings on that, or any kind of wrapper material or uniform of any kind that some people can wear in respect to that particular funeral, and then you must also take take theirs to them, things like that. Wow. So that is traditional, you see. That is to say, that is what we endorsed. That was what we set as what anybody that is doing that should follow that rudiment. You see, should do it that way. My point is this: when it comes to tradition, the kind that when you leave it and do it the way you want to, just do it anywhere, because people get out. I mean, it's a civilized society. The world is becoming, so all those things, some of them could even be hedonistic, if this is a good English, So now what I'm trying to say is this: when it comes to those kind of things, when it comes to that kind, that can differentiate people, that can make a people different from another. How if you should unite them? If there should be the kind that, as it is in Africa, the same way it is in Europe, the same way it is in Asia, the same way it is in other continents of this earth, it should be that way. Where will that come from? Do you know that heaven's world is not a place of no culture? Do you know that the heaven's world of the mankind race is where everybody that belongs to the mankind race has his house in? Every pure hominid. And that we are supposed to have the same kind of way of life. That was something that Jesus of Nazareth was pointing to here. That white people do things in such a way that, in fact, they wrote in a certain place that they, by their tradition, they make the words of God of non-effect. That's the way they wrote it, but they didn't write it well. Nobody can make the words of God of non-effect. That means like something that is not active. Hey, they didn't write it well. What they wanted to write, or what they're supposed to put there, that Jesus said. When you say that Jesus said, it gets my attention. When you say that the most Holy Spirit says, it gets my attention. Even if the person is a prophet, the likes of Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel. Oh, it is such a privilege that I get what is called the incubation of the most Holy Spirit. Many didn't know what that is. Many didn't know. That's what the most Holy Spirit can do to somebody for a reason. Because the person is in a position to do it. That's to mediate between the God and the people. When in the affairs that has to do with the people's salvation, simply meaning their express immortalization alive. Because everybody can pray to God. That is to say, he's not mediating to block any from reaching God. That means praying to God. That means having personal, individual relationship with the God. You see? So that means if say you mediate, then concerning what? In what aspect? Salvation aspect. Just like the things I'm explaining to you, you can see. You can virtually see that you need to understand it. So for me to do it, it shouldn't be God. Maybe I'm walking on the road and then I heard my name, Obinna. And then I now realize immediately that that's God's tone of voice. And I say, oh, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. He go to the point where people can take phone. I mean, somebody can take phone. And it's, okay, is that heaven? Is that, okay. Oh, speak, Lord, your servant heareth. Phone. Look at that. What are the things that causes this kind of a thing? These things I'm talking about. They brought what was written in the Bible to a state. It's in Revelation 11. A state like where you talk about body that has died. That is physical body, that the spirit being inside it was taken away from the body. What do you expect? You see, another thing is illiteracy. That means the person, if the person understood or had a good understanding of how that every call, that is to say, which if he was a call truly, there are people that are at the background that can trace it to see how that the dialer, the one that died or him died, is in heaven. I know that they are. Let me leave that as that side because it's hurting to me. It's terrible. Jesus probably said these things while standing on the mountain called the Mountain of Olives. I was talking to somebody who is also listening to me or has been listening. I called the person and I said, if someone asks you, why do you people use olive oil? We are born again. I mean, the Spirit of God is in me already. I'm born again. Don't you understand? I speak in tongues and so on. Why will I use olive oil? Whatever that would have been the olive oil, the greater is in me already. So why will I use olive oil? I asked the person, so what will you tell the person? Then he said, he came up with some explanations. He said, sir, tell the person. I said, okay, hold it, don't worry. Let me just tell you what will be the kind that will shut mouth whoever that person is. So where you will show the person in the Bible is this. Is the account that spoke about somebody coupling an ark. That the person finished coupling that ark. Him and his family went in and other animals, okay, in sevens and you know the story, both birds and so on. Then, when it was time for them to come out, that means all that should happen has happened. The ark has rested on a certain mountain. Then, so what they were now talking about is coming out from the very ark. The person, amongst what he did, was to send out birds that they called two names. One was called raven. The second one was called dove. To cut the long story short, a certain one that did what communicated to that person inside the ark. That one was the dove that was coming back to the very ark with olive leaf in the mouth like this. You know how birds have beak. At least you know how doves are. So it is not carrying. It's not carrying the thing like this. It was like this. Then I said, "Do you think that has no meaning?" See, look at that. I mean, you ask the person, "Do you think that has no meaning?" The dove went and took, and like a bird can just go and take anything, and that will communicate to the person. Oh, okay. It's like that means this or that. And no other tree did that bird go to. Is olive tree. Then what the dove took was olive leaf, not leaves, leaf. And also, when on sight, as that bird was coming, you could see that when they say dove, it's supposed to mean a pigeon without spot. That means that dove supposed to be spotless. Now, that dove, if you should look at the face of the dove, if you look at the face of the dove, for instance, you will now see that it drew, when you look at that green of this side, then look at the head of the dove. That's white, and the beak. Then also green. It drew green, white, green on the side as it was coming. 2, when the dove reached where the very Noah took his hand out from the window, the dove landed on his palm. Then he brought the dove in. It has no meaning. Then I told him, I said, that olive leaf in the mouth of the dove pointed to somebody's healing ministry. That was the healing ministry of somebody. And that dove also that was sent out, that particular dove, was representing that person. Like you eat herbs here. Just like you eat herbs. He was pointing to the fact that that person's healing ministry is in his mouth. And at the same time, that was also why olive tree, the oil that comes from that olive seed, you see, is a sacramental in the hands of that person. It is not in the hands of everybody. It's not in the hands of everybody. There are sacramentals. There are angels of church ages. You see, just like you know there are herbalists. That is also how somebody that has the kind of message that is a salvation message can be also ranked. You see, so either that the person should go to the fields, to the bush, to be looking for herbs and be getting them, so that he will be curing people, or if that is not necessary. And amongst words that Jesus said was, "Ye shall lay hands on the sick and he shall recover." And that's where that was all he said. He never pointed to anything like that. But there was where they touched things like, oh God of mercy, child. You know, it's so painful. It's so painful that people, or that something that is very serious, that has to do with people's lives, health is something that is very, very important. Even in the race, your health is very, very important. There was this place where they wrote something like this. What they wanted to write is that healing is supposed to be for the children of the king. That is supposed to be for the pure hominids. But they wrote it something like children's bread. That is the children's bread, something like that. Then out there you see a preacher make you feel you as a child of the kingdom. They call it child of God. You can just put your own hand on that side of your body and say, heal. And then with your faith, you'll be healed. Yet they still expect people to come to them for them to pray for the person to be healed. Look at that. Divine healing and prayers. The prayer you will say in the name of Jesus Christ. The one that you will say in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Most Holy Spirit. They don't know which is which. Like immersing people into water and bringing them out. As in somebody inside water and bringing them out. In whose name? So Paul at the time called it the baptism of John. Automatically to make you see. If he was to do that to any, then he will not say, I baptize you in the name of whichever person. John, when he was doing his own, we say. Because I'm sure he was not doing his own in his name. John was not saying, I baptize you in the name of John the Baptist. He must have said, that's the way he goes about it. That made Jesus of Nazareth went to the very John the Baptist. And oh my goodness. You see what I'm saying? So these people, they don't know these things. It is obvious. Jesus said it in Matthew 24. He said, many shall come in my name, saying or preaching, teaching, I am the Christ.